Hi everyone. Firstly, I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which you and I are meeting today and pay my respects to their elders past, present and future. Thank you for joining us today for the fourth in a series of the Queensland Tourism Awards Judges webinars. These webinars are designed to help you as an entrant through your awards submission journey. I'm Liz Ward from Tourism Tribe, and I'm really pleased to be your MC for this webinar series. I have a lot of history in the Tourism Awards, and I'm very pleased to introduce you to speakers and tease out some of their questions and answers that will help you and make your journey easier with the submission. Today's webinar will focus specifically on business development and how to best approach this particular question in your Tourism Awards submission. I'm joined by former chair of the judges panel, Dr. Pierre Beckendorf. Hi, Pierre.
Hi, Liz.
Pierre has more than 20 years experience in education and research in the tourism field and is currently based at the University of Queensland. He has developed and taught undergraduate and postgraduate courses in tourism management, international tourism, tourist behaviour, tourism and leisure futures, transportation, operations, technologies, analysis, business skills and marketing communications. So along with all of that incredible knowledge and experience, Pierre has also served as a judge for many years in the Queensland Tourism Awards and the Australian Tourism Awards. And as I mentioned before, has been a former chair, was the previous chair of the judges panel and always did an amazing job at that. So we're really fortunate to have you for this webinar. Thank you, Pierre. So this business development question, it accounts for 20 points of your Tourism Awards submission. And what we're hoping to achieve with this presentation today is provide you with some valuable tips and guidance about how to best answer this component of your submission. In the submission, the question asks, during the qualifying period, what have you implemented to improve your product, experience or service, and/or what have you implemented to provide business or recovery in the wake of national and world events, aka COVID particularly? So this is obviously a very important question of the 4 questions in your submission. And Pierre, we would love you to share how entrants should approach and prepare for answering this question.
Sure, Liz, thanks. The question this year is a bit different to previous years, so if you've entered before, just pay attention to that. And I think it's deliberately different to allow you a bit more scope to discuss COVID-19 recovery efforts. But at core, it's the same question. Judges are looking for innovation or anything that you've implemented during the qualifying period. Now, usually innovation refers to creating or improving processes, products, services, or ideas. Innovations can be big or small. So think about innovations across all aspects of your business for this business development question. There is a saying or a proverb, necessity is the mother of invention, and there's always an opportunity with crisis. Just as it forces us as individuals to look inside ourselves, it forces businesses to re-examine their policies and practices. I know that during the pandemic, many businesses used the downturn in visitors as an opportunity to do hard refurbs, to upgrade facilities, and to do some staff training and development. Some businesses were just working to stay afloat. So a good response needs to capture that story during the qualifying period. And it will also present some outcomes attached to that journey or that story or the innovations that you've implemented. So those outcomes need to provide evidence of benefits from the perspective of employees, customers, suppliers or other stakeholders. So examples of the sorts of things that you often see in this question are improved efficiencies, reduced staff turnover, less waste, cost savings, increases in revenue, time savings, customer satisfaction, length of stay, social media activity. There may be a range of measures that are specifically associated with the kinds of challenges that we've also had over the last 12 to 24 months. So think about how you can bring that into the story when you answer this question. Remember, the awards are also about tourism excellence. So tell the judges your story What did you do to ensure you remained ahead of the pack, to put your business in a better position, and to provide a better experience for guests? And what was the result of these efforts?
That's great, thanks Pierre, and I'm sure that there are going to be amazing, unique stories to be told about the last 18 months in people's businesses. So that sets the scene, but when it comes to actually answering the questions, to score well within the question, what would be some of your tips there?
Well, this question has always been about planning. So the judges are going to want to see that your success is based around sound business planning. So introduce the section with your mission or vision statement. Describe your planning approach, even if it's changed during COVID. I'd be surprised if many businesses were able to stick to their original plans. And you had to make new plans, right? So you're going to want to tell that story and explain that a little bit in your response. But typically the structure for this question, or the structure that we see in the answers, is one where entrants talk about their goals, their strategies, and their outcomes. Those three things: goals, strategies, and outcomes, while acknowledging how these might have changed due to the challenging national and global events that we've faced. So your goals are what you plan to achieve during the qualifying period. And it's really important here to make sure that they are SMART goals. That means they should be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. Google that if you don't know what I'm talking about. Make sure your goals are framed as SMART goals, because judges certainly are looking for that. Don't focus only on the financials. This is a common rookie error. There are a lot of different ways in which you can present your goals in terms of not just the finances, but also human resource goals, training and development goals, physical or technology goals, visitor numbers, customer satisfaction goals, innovation, productivity, sustainability, awards. There's a whole range of things that you can frame goals around. So you start with your goals, then you need to tell us about your strategies. And this is where some of the opportunity comes in to talk about innovations or actions you took or things that you implemented during the qualifying period. So the strategies are the actions or solutions that were implemented to help you achieve your goals. And a good strategy provides a good roadmap or a clear roadmap or a set of actions that people in your organisation took to address or achieve your mission and your goals. For example, your strategies might include things like designing new experiences or facilities, or upgrading the facilities, or systems or processes, or training staff, or implementing sustainability initiatives. If you're talking about the ongoing survival of your business during the COVID pandemic, you could include things like diversifying your product or your experience, maybe seeking alternative ways for the delivery of the product or the experience. So have a good think about what changes you had to make to survive, and frame them in that way. So these are all the actions you took. If you have a risk management plan, now would be a really good time to talk about that risk management plan, to outline the key risks and mitigation measures that you put in place during the qualifying period to weather any of the storms and challenges that were thrown at you. So we've got goals, strategies, and then the third one is outcomes. And the outcomes is where you have a chance to use quantifiable evidence to demonstrate the outcomes or results of each goal and activity. So if you can show numbers or percentages to prove your claims, that's always useful. And be sure to link your goals to strategies and ensure the outcomes of these strategies are measurable, or you're able to evidence them in some way. If you didn't achieve some of your goals, don't panic. I think the judges are going to be very aware of the national and global challenges faced by tourism and hospitality operators in the qualifying period. But you do need to tell that story. If you didn't achieve your goals, there's a story to tell there about why you may have been able to achieve your goals and what you might have done to stay on track. Liz, I think the good responses also demonstrate why the strategy or implementation was implemented. So you have to tell that story of why, and it might be in response to guest feedback, or because there was a change in market demand, which is a nice way of saying COVID destroyed our market, or maybe it was something that you anticipated or planned for. Maybe in your risk management framework, you'd anticipated something like this and you had risk management strategies in place. So those would all be really good things to talk about in this section.
So this section, it really is about sound business practice and planning, isn't it? And then telling the story of how those plans were possibly disrupted, and then what your response was to that, and then how you've measured against new outcomes or new plans. That's sort of my way of summarising it, and I think nearly every tourism operator would be able to relate to that. But really it's about, I had a plan and I had a lot of those best practice things in place to be able to grow my business or achieve the goals I have for it. These are all the tools I was using. This is what happened.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I come back to the idea that often innovation comes out of times of crisis. And if you think of it that way, I'd be surprised if most businesses couldn't come up with some really interesting stories.
Oh, they're just real stories, aren't they? So it's about how you communicate them. So you might have a final tip for us that, you know, might really help with how they put the question together. Because when I speak with tourism operators doing award submissions, sometimes that's it. They know what they want to share. It's just what's the best way to communicate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the business planning and development part of the submission can be pretty dry because we're talking about goals and strategies and outcomes, but it doesn't have to be. So a couple of tips. One is to use a table to show the alignment between goals, strategies and outcomes, as you'll see on the slide there. And that makes it really clear for judges how the actions you took might relate to your goals and what the outcomes were. If you can work KPIs or key performance indicators into that presentation, that is also always very useful. You should also use images to support and enhance your response in this section. So if you are talking about new products or facilities, make sure that you get some professional photographs that you can drop into the submission to demonstrate that. Posters that promote changes that you've implemented, any processes that you've implemented around being a COVID-safe business, I think would be good to showcase here. And if you can do that visually by using images, I think there's a great opportunity to do that. Short case studies also work well in this section, Liz, particularly when people are talking about their risk management plans, because they can help the judges understand how that risk management plan is enacted and becomes alive and how it's used and operationalised in the business.
That's great. Thanks so much, Pierre. Well, I think that brings us to the close of this webinar, and I feel like you've conveyed some really helpful tips there for people and a good understanding of what this question is about. QTIC and the Tourism Awards judges are looking forward to bringing you further webinars to help you on this journey that you're on with your submission. And if you have any suggestions or topics, or you're just looking to ask a specific question, feel free to forward them to the email address awards@qtic.com.au. You can also visit the program website, which is qtic.com.au/Queensland Tourism Awards, which you can see on the screen there. And the wonderful Tracy Capes is available as our program manager, and Tracy is available on that email address, awards@qtic.com.au. So that's a wrap for this business development question, and I'll look forward to seeing you in other webinars where we take a deep dive into some of the other questions. Thank you so much, Pierre, and we'll talk to you soon.